Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to another segment of Code Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. Our recitation today is the 9th pauri of Asa Ki War, composition of the first Nanak. And this war, like other wars, has associated sloks that kind of provide the setting, and this one has two. So we will begin the recitation with the first slok, consider the slok, and then move on to the second, and then to the pauri. The recitation. Slok mahalla pehla, pad pad gaddi laddiya hai, pad pad bhariye saath. So, pad pad gaddi laddiya. So even if you read and recite scripture or other forms of knowledge, the Guru says, even if you read and recite enough to load a cart full or carry a loaded cart everywhere you go, pad pad bhariye saath, even if you drag it along. And then to emphasize that, he says, even if you have read enough to fill a boat or a landful, pad bedi paiye, bedi, a boat, paiye, pad gadiye, khat. Gadiye is to dig a hole, khat. Padiye jete baras, padiye jete maas. Baras, year after year after year, and the months in the middle. So perpetual accumulation of knowledge, if you're at it day in and day out. Padiye jeti arja, in fact, for all your life, and continue to do so for the remainder of your life, the Guru says, Nanak lekhe ik gal. There's only one thing of value. And that's, by the way, not accumulation of knowledge. Ik gal. It is connection with the one. Everything else is haume chakhana chah, egotistical nonsense and babble. Chakhana chah. That is what everything else is, other than connection with the one, with yourself. So merely accumulating vast bodies of knowledge simply will not transform character. Now, does that mean that Guruji is saying no ritual at all? I personally don't think so. I think he's qualifying that. He's saying you can be doing all of these things, but without that deep internal realization and connection with the self, it's useless. It doesn't have meaning. The meaning comes from that connection. And we will talk about this. And now to the second salok, which I'll read out first, because it is short, very crisp lines. Mahalla pehla, likh padya, teta kadya, bahut tirath pavya, te to lavya, bahut pekh kiye dehi dukh diya, sauve jiya apna kiya, ann na khaya sad gavaya, bahut dukh paya dooja paya, bastra na pehre ehnis kehre, ਮੌਨ ਵਿਗੂਤਾ ਕਿਉ ਜਾਗੈ ਗੁਰ ਬਿਨ ਸੂਤਾ, ਪਗ ਉੱਪੇ ਤਾਣਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਕੀਆ ਕਮਾਣਾ, ਅਲਮਲ ਖਾਈ ਸਿਰ ਛਾਈ ਪਾਈ, ਮੂਰਖ ਅੰਧੈ ਪਤ ਗਵਾਈ, ਵਿਣ ਨਾਵੇਂ ਕਿਛ ਥਾਏ ਨ ਪਾਈ, ਰਹੇ ਬਿਬਾਣੀ ਮੜੀ ਮਸਾਣੀ, ਅੰਧ ਨ ਜਾਣੈ ਫਿਰ ਪਛਤਾਣੀ, ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਭੇਟੇ सो सुख पाए, हर का नाम मन वसाए, नानक नदर करे so पाए. So, likh padya teta kadya. I mean, not only are you reciting and reading and accumulating knowledge, but you're keeping count. People used to recite the rosary by keeping count. I have to do 108 or whatever. And so the Guruji is saying, look, not only is accumulating knowledge alone not worthwhile, but when you do it with counting it, you're only adding to your own anxiety. Making pilgrimages, both Tirath Pavya, all over the place. And then, Tirto Lavya, you go ahead and announce it to everyone, showing off. Bahopekh giya dehi dukh diya, wearing religious garb, subjecting the body to austerities. He says, Save jiya apna kiya. This is, if you do all of this, then life becomes an enduring self-inflicted pain. Anna khaya sad gavaya. There's more. You're abstaining from eating, fasting, in other words, depriving yourself of nutrition and taste. Bahut dukh paya. You endure much sorrow, duja paya, just to please others. Bastra na pehre, nis kehre, remaining naked, enduring the elements. Maun viguta, kyon jagge gur bin suta. So here's the crux. You practice long spells of silence, meditative silence. The Guru says, Kyun jagge? How does one awaken without the Gur, the right knowledge, that being the point? Pag uppe tana, remaining barefoot, like a lot of sects do. Apana kiya kamana, it's your own doing. Then, al malakai sirshai pai, they eat all kinds of unhealthy food or crap, if you will. So the Guru concludes by saying, look, vinaname kishathaye na pai, none of this that you're doing is going to accrue any result without cultivating now virtue. Virtue, nothing worthwhile is to be obtained. Whether you live in forests or cemeteries, you are blind without knowledge. Rahe bebani madi masani, it doesn't matter where you live. Andana jane, you're blind, you don't know. Phir pashathani, all you're left with is regret. But here's the key, here's the solution. Harka satgur peta so sukh pai. So sukh pai. Find happiness by submitting yourself to the Satgur, to the Gur, to that agency of knowledge within you. Arkana manavasai, inculcate wisdom of the heart self. Nanak nadar kare so pai. So, with grace, you will find the self and happiness. So here, he in fact, in the second salok, he has actually commented on a lot of the prevailing rites and rituals and practices and called them into question. Whether it is walking barefoot, whether it is walking naked, whether it is living in forests. All of these practices were and still are very prevalent in the Indian subcontinent. So the Guru is really calling all of them into question. So as I said earlier, does that mean we should dismiss all of this ritual as unnecessary or ritual practice is unnecessary? Some of it perhaps. I think, but the Guru is saying that some of these practices are downright silly and others are not practiced with the right mindset, with the right attitude. So let's see what he says in the Pauri, because that's where the crux is and the solution might emerge. Pauri, Bhagda tere man pavande, dar sohan kirat gavande, Nanak karma bahare, dar toy na lahani tavande, ik mool na bujjan apna, anhonda aap ganainde, how tadi ki neech jaat, hor uttam jaat sadainde, tena manga jai tujhe te ainde, tena manga jai tujhe te ainde. So Bhagat tere man bhavade tar sohan kirt gavande. What is Nanak's worship? It involves bhakti, servitude and devotion to a divine presence, which is everywhere. So you don't have to go anywhere. Bhagat tere man bhavade, that is the bhakti of Guru Nanak. So the divine presence is hukam. Dar sohan kirt gamde. Dar, in that court, which is this universe, virtuous deeds are to be performed in service of humanity. So the attitude is that you're living in divine presence, that you are in the service of divine presence. You have to develop yourself in order to serve humanity, to move it along. That is the worship of Guru Nanak. Nanak karma bahare dar to na lehni tam de. To seek outside of hukam, Nanak says, is to go astray. Tam de. To na lehni. You won't find any support. You'll go astray. And here's the problem. Ik mool na bujjana apana. Many are they who don't grasp their essence, make no effort. Anahonda apaganainde, but make long and tall claims of having attained the self. Hautadi ki neech jaat. Here the Guru is speaking in utter humility. Of lowly origin, I am your bard. I sing in humility. I adore you, and in adoration I sing. But singing also means I develop virtue and wisdom. So the point is ritual. You see the point in all of religious practice. We need ritual one way or the other. If we don't have a ritual, we'll create a ritual. I mean, getting up in the morning, brushing your teeth, getting a cup of coffee is a ritual, for God's sake, because you do it. However, religious ritual has a different meaning, has a different sort of reason behind it. You see, the thing that is at the crux of Gurmat is to control desires. Trishna, the fire of desires, this running flow of desire. It is wild. It's just flowing all the time. And if we succumb to desire, then guess what? They become habits. You become conditioned, and then there is no chance for you to be creative. You're done. So ritual fosters particular emotional responses. You know, it gives you an understanding of your different states of mind, and it channels your performance in particular directions. It restricts, you're restricting, you're damming, you're like building a dam to your desires. You see, that's why it is necessary to have some sort of ritual. But to block the overflow of desires without understanding, without this inner connection to the wisdom of the self, will be misleading, because you will not know which direction to move your desires. For that you need another, as the Guru said in the first salok, another Nanak, another kare so paiye. You need a vision. That vision has to come from sabad. It cannot be your own vision, because that would be ego. So that's how this works. Ritual, rites in themselves are not to be condemned. Some, yes. Some make sense, because wisdom is often associated with ritual, because for the reasons that I've mentioned, it actually creates a framework for your behavior, and that's virtue. So it all goes hand in hand. In other words, you have to be guided by the Guru in whatever you're doing. Waheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji ki Fateh.